Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Pastor Rob here. Been on the road a little bit, traveling around with my wife, having a good time. Headed for North Carolina right after the flood, and found out where we were going. It was gone. Everything is destroyed. So please keep the people of Asheville in prayer. Got some family members down there working, running aid and relief to people. So keep North Carolina and the East Coast in prayer with the devastation after the hurricane. So anyway, we are in Mark chapter 9, verse 14. And we just finished up the transfiguration. Jesus was on the mountain with Moses, Elijah, Peter, James, and John. And now they're coming down the mountain. And when they come down to the mountain, it begins here at verse 14 of Mark chapter 9. When they came to the other disciples, so if Peter, James, and John were with Jesus on the mountain, who are they coming down to? The other 9 disciples. They came to the other disciples and they saw a large crowd. So they're coming down to the mountain. They see the other 9 disciples. There's a large crowd there. There's also a group of Pharisees and teachers of the law arguing with the disciples. And what they're arguing about is the fact that they could not throw or cast a demon out of a demon-possessed boy. But Jesus is about to handle the situation. So let's take a look at this. So the teachers of the law are arguing with the disciples. But as soon as the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed. And what that word there is, they were in awe of him. Again, I think in the church we are not in awe of God like we used to be. I think we go through the motions and worship, and we often forget to be in awe of Christ. We get behind we look at the pastor, we like him, we like our administrators, we like our song leaders, but are we really in awe of God? I think the church is missing that, being in awe of God. So anyway, they were in awe, actually, of Jesus when they saw him, and they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. So Jesus comes up, he sees the scene, he sees the disciples arguing with the teachers of the law, he sees the crowd around this. There's a man with his young son there, and they're all arguing. What the heck's going on? And Jesus asked them, what are you arguing with them about? And the man in the crowd answered, Teacher, and this is what they're arguing about. Very simple. The man that brought the son to the disciples to have the demon cast out of him speaks up and says exactly why they're arguing. A man in the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought my son, who is demon possessed by a spirit and has robbed him of his speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they couldn't do it. They're not there yet. They're not qualified yet. And they're not filled yet with the Spirit either, which doesn't happen until Acts chapter 2, as we know. So, could they have? Possibly. I don't know. Maybe it was a faith thing. Maybe they didn't understand. They're still novices following Christ. So, in verse 19, he says, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. Okay, so this is number 2. Point 1 was we need to be in awe of Christ. We need to remember to step back and be in awe of God. If you want to see how awe works, get a little kid, take him to some place where there's some bright lights. Get some 2 or 3-year-old kid and just your son, your daughter, and watch how their eyes light up, how they're in awe of just something they've never seen before. This is how we should be with Jesus Christ. Number 2, if you have a problem, if you have a situation, if you have an important decision to make, if you're in some type of bind in life, have you brought it to Jesus Christ? A lot of people go to friends, they go to confidants, their girlfriends talk, guys talk sometimes. But have we done everything but bring the problem to Jesus Christ? That's 2. Be in awe of Christ. Number 2, if you have a problem, bring it to Jesus Christ. This is what he wants. This is what he says. Bring the kid to me. So they brought him. Now, look at this. When the Spirit saw Jesus, now remember, all these spirits were in heaven with Christ. In Revelation, I think it's 12, before they were all thrown out of heaven. Luke 10:18, Jesus said, I saw Satan fall from heaven. Revelation 12, a third of the angels fell with Satan when they came out of heaven. So they know who he is. The Spirit sees Jesus and panics immediately. Outheos. This is the 34th time this word is used in this book. Outheos. Immediately the Spirit threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground, rolled around, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? And the man replies, like from childhood. He's been this way since he was a little boy. It's often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. If you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. Will you have compassion on us? Can you help us? He's almost demanding it, so to speak. And so I don't understand the whole situation, but I think it's interesting that Jesus looks at him and says, if I can, how about that? You don't know who I am. Are you in awe of God? They were just a second ago when he came off the mountain. What do you mean, if I can? You know I can. I like that question. If you can, if I can, where's our faith? So are we in awe of God any longer? Are we bringing our problems to Christ in faith and going, hey, if you can, hey, if it's your will. Well, I mean, we often say that. But how about this? Christ, I'm in a bind. I'm in a tough situation. Will you please handle this for me? I'm trying to get into Ohio State. I can't get in. Will you please open doors that only you can open and close doors that only you can close? Maybe you aren't meant to go to Ohio State. I don't know. I'm just giving an example. Maybe there's a career. Maybe there's a marriage decision. Maybe there's a home buying situation. Maybe we should move. Or am I in the geographical will of God? All kinds of things. We discuss health problems, money problems. The problem is this. We talk amongst ourselves about our problems, but how many times do we stand in awe of God and say, I'm going to bring my problem to you? Well, if you can. No. I'm going to bring my problem to you, Jesus. Say, this is yours. Help me, please. And so look at this. If I can, Jesus said, everything is possible for him who believes. And immediately, Outheos, once again, this is 35th time this is used in the book of Mark. The boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. I do believe. Okay? I believe. I believe. God, man, when I was a pastor and we were working in church, I would say so many times, in my heart I've been praying, I've got this vision to do something. We would do it. And it always worked out. The problem that always happened was when somebody would come up and say, well, it didn't come out the way we thought it should. Well, our church didn't grow because of it. Well, the people that we won to Christ in that moment, in one moment, there was 22 people that gave their life to Christ. None of them came to our church afterwards. I didn't care about that. I only cared that we were doing our job as a responsible church preaching the gospel. But the elders would get upset. Well, our church ain't growing. We're spending this money for nothing. But we're doing our job before God. We don't know down the road what kind of impact we're going to have on the lives that we're preaching with people, we're teaching to people. And so anyway, I do believe. Finally, he believes. Help me overcome my unbelief. And I wish our church would have got that so much quicker. Forget about the money. Forget about what it costs. Go do it. Help my unbelief. I'm in awe of you, God. I'm bringing my problem to you, God. We believe you can do it, God. And you know, we might not get 1,000 people in our church or even one person on our church, but we will be faithful to the gospel because you told us 5 times in the New Testament to preach the gospel. I know that's not what's happening here, but it's just one of the things that I see in the church. How much is it going to cost? Should we do it? Forget about that. You're either doing it for God or you're not. Or you can hold on to your money, and when you die, it'll be there when you're dead. I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am hard on the church because I think we could be doing a much better job. Sorry. I love you guys. Some of you guys really love Jesus Christ. You're doing your best, and it's not easy. The biggest battles I've always had were in the church, never outside of the church. Because why? Because in the world, you have authority. The world cannot stand against the power of God. If God says go do it, it's going to happen. If it's his will, he's going to open doors only he can open. And even if people want to hold these doors closed, they're not going to stay closed. Whatever it is you're trying to do for the kingdom, if you know God's called you to do it, you have the authority and power to do it in the name of Jesus Christ. So anyway, but my biggest battle was never in the world. It was always in the church. It was battling uphill, like I put the church on my back and was climbing with them on my back. Not everybody, but a lot of people. There were people that were on board 100%. But the biggest battles I always face with answer. So I'm hard on the church in that way. I'm sorry. So support your pastor. Get behind him. If he has a vision, get behind him. So when Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, Jesus quickly rebuked the evil spirit. He didn't want this to get out of control. He didn't want pandemonium. He tried to get under control, and he sees that. So he rebuked the evil spirit. He says, you deaf and mute spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. What happens? They were in awe of God. They brought the problem to God. They believed in God. And what happened? The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. But here we go. Here comes the humanity back in real quickly. Even after a miracle's happened, the humanity comes in very quickly. The boy looked so much like a corpse. Many said, he's dead. They're walking by sight again. Did they forget what just happened? that brought the problem to Jesus, and he handled it. But they start to say, look, he's dead. We step out in faith and he's dead. You killed him. But Jesus took the boy by the hand, lifted him up to his feet, and the boy stood up. Be in awe of God. Bring your problem to God. Ask him to help you with your unbelief. It doesn't always work out the way you thought it should, but it will work out. Jesus will take authority. He will handle your problem. He will guide you, and he will direct you. You just have to be willing to be humble enough to surrender to his plan and let things fall into place where they may, organically, by God. You can have an idea. Doesn't mean your idea is always going to be perfect, that it will come out. But it will work out. Always work out in the end. So they thought he was dead, but Jesus had lifted him up and stood him up. And after Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, why couldn't we drive out the spirit? Why did this big argument happen? Because they couldn't drive out the spirit. And so now they're going, we were arguing, all this was going on. Why couldn't we do it? And Jesus said, this kind of spirit can only come out by prayer. They weren't praying. They were trying to do it through human effort. So before you take on a situation, if you have a vision for God, if you're in a situation, you're graduating from college, you're graduating from high school, you're perhaps considering marriage, considering a career, stand in awe of your God, bring the problem to him, leave it there, ask him to help your unbelief, and see what God can do with it. It's the same thing he did when they fed the 5,000 and fed the 4,000. Jesus didn't say, bring me the solution to the problem. He said, bring me what you have. I have a problem. I don't know what to do after college. Lord, I don't know what college to go to. Lord, I don't know what subject matter I should study. I don't know who I should marry. I don't know where I should move to. I don't know if I should join the Army, Navy, Air Force, or Marines. I don't know. God help me. Have you tried that? God help me. Help my unbelief. Stand in awe of him. Bring your problem to him. Ask him to help your unbelief, to give you direction, and see what Jesus can do with what you bring him. In this situation, God handled the problem. It's taken care of. This kind of problem can only be solved through prayer. That's the thing. So let's stop there. I'm going to say it again. We often talk about our problems with our friends. We rally our troops. We get a group think together, and everybody gets on the same page, and we all go in the same direction. Maybe it's the wrong direction sometimes. If you haven't considered what you're doing in prayer, if you haven't got your group together in prayer and prayed about a situation, you may not be going in the right direction. Get a group around you. Get alone with Jesus yourself. Get on your face. We've said this before. Get on your face before God in awe of him. Bring the problem you have to him. God, do with this what you will. This is my mind, God. For example, I want to go to the University of Florida. I want to go to school and be a doctor, which is what I was going to do. Back in the early 90s, I went to school, I got there, and when I got there, I gave my life to Christ. And then he changed my plan. I ended up going to Bible college. But anyway, bring it to him and ask God to help you with what it is you're dealing with, and wait to see what he does. I promise you, it'll work out just fine if you can be just a little bit patient and allow God to operate in your situation. And that's where we're at. This thing can only come out by prayer. This problem you have may only be solved through prayer. Be still, wait on God. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You can mount up with wings like eagles, but sometimes we just got to wait and give it to Jesus and see what he can do. Remember, he can open doors that nobody else can open, and he'll close doors that you think you want to go through because maybe it ain't the best way for you, and he knows it. So he'll slam that door shut, and you ain't going to open it if you want to, or even if you try. So remember, God will open doors that only he can open. He'll close the doors that he knows need to be closed. But we got to bring it to him. Be in awe of him. Bring the problem to him. Pray. Ask him to help your unbelief. And just wait to see what God's going to do with whatever issue you're facing today. So I promise you, it'll work out just fine. Hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.